so much. Good evening. Welcome to the Streets, Housing, and Public Safety. Is that what we're calling it? I thought it was Health. It's in two different names in two different places. So I will take a look at that. Want to start with a conversation about the street naming ordinance that was referred to us. If folks have a question about that, we just needed to have a document in place that had some standardized language. I had just a couple comments on it. I didn't know if anyone else had questions, concerns, comments. Would the committee, do you have anything you'd like to share about? This is Mike Skelly with the, for those at home.
Yeah, good evening. Yeah, I saw it on the agenda and I just figured I probably should be here. I believe it went maybe once or twice to council, and then obviously it was given to the subcommittee for further discussion. So I'm happy to answer any questions. I may have already talked briefly in the prior months about the background, the reason, et cetera. So I'm happy to bring that up again or actually go through the ordinance, whatever your pleasure is.
Why don't you go ahead and give us a brief background on where it came from?
Sure. So something of this nature in terms of a policy for street naming and numbering is typically more for slightly bigger developments. And we've had a couple where the process has been the applicant or developer will make a request to the planning commission, and then at least maybe one or two public meetings, there'll be a discussion both with the planning commission, with staff, with the developer, sometimes their consultants. And there was a concern essentially that these things could drag on. It's a bit difficult to get everyone's talking. And essentially the intent from staff and the administration was to streamline it as best we could, make it simpler, and then actually codify some of the concerns we had into an actual written policy. So I took a look at what's out there. There was documents going back to like 1950, it could be earlier, but at least from the American Planning Institute. I looked at two. I did look at least maybe 3 or 4 within the region. And I tried to boil it down to a very simple, like 4 or 5 pages, just because it's the first stab of doing this policy. So at this point, I believe it hits the big concerns that I would see common in these documents, and essentially how it will be done in the future if this is approved is that an applicant developer would submit a request to the safety service director. The safety service director is primarily responsible for most things dealing with the transportation, traffic, et cetera. And you would either delegate it to someone. I don't believe we've identified a person or department, but definitely it could be fire, it could be building, it could be myself, it could be there's a number of people, and they would be going through almost like a checklist in addition to whatever concerns. And in addition to having it more focused and more streamlined, hopefully also the turnaround would be much quicker, because as opposed to if you were a couple days before planning commission or a couple days after, you would have to wait for the 30-day cycle. So my belief is that once an application is submitted, it's given to the appropriate person, they could probably turn around at least and have written draft comments, and essentially having the safety service director approve them within 5 or 7 days.
That seems reasonable. Is it, if I understand this right, which I'll say that I really appreciate this. I think particularly after November and being out and knocking so many houses and things like that, you start to learn that there's a sort of an underlying mathematics to our civic life here that is quite interesting and nuanced in some ways. So thank you for your work on this. With regard to this ordinance, is it accurate to say that no existing property existing structure would be renamed. Everything would be essentially grandfathered in, but it would be the go forwards, and I'll call out like the Allison development in the sense that it's kind of right at, you know, Cortland and Weir and Allison, and sort of dictating what the numbering ends up being for that development, or if, let's say, they want to invent a new road that is Allison Court Drive or something that kind of cuts through there, that's more so the situation that this is going to govern in a go forward basis.
Correct. So essentially everything that's out there now, you could have, in addition to larger properties, where you would have existing lots that are smaller or larger, and they start combining and re-subdividing them. So that would help then looking, was there a better way to have these things, named and numbered, including, I would say, primarily for that lot consolidation, it would be more that if you had, let's say, 100A, and you would have the alphanumeric type of sequence, they would say, well, let's figure out a better way sequentially to have numbers for these things, as opposed to A, B, we could have multiple properties for units on one lot. So, but yeah, it wouldn't be something that the existing residents or business would be expected to change.
Any other thoughts on it? This was referred to our committee to have a discussion, and then we are to send it back to council for them to move forward. And I can't recall why we couldn't have just council pass it. They wanted it to go to committee first. So now is our time to have any concerns. The only thing that I noticed is that it was gendered, the language was gendered in a few places. So just ask for that to be changed.
Okay.
But other than that, and it does say, in consultation with staff, the building, fire department, safety service director. In consultation with the staff of the building and the fire department, the safety service director is ultimately responsible. So the safety service director can designate someone to do all the initial legwork, but then the safety service director essentially has the final call on it. Just to follow up with what you were saying, that how the process goes.
Yeah, I don't have any concerns. This seems pretty reasonable, and it'll be good to have with all the new development to make sure things are consistent and clear. Because I know in a lot of older cities, the numbering and names can be quite confusing because they were done before this was even really thought of.
I do thought it was interesting. It never dawned on me that most of the streets in Norwood are avenue. And I know that, but I never noticed it until that was. And do we know the history of that?
Well, prepared for such a question. So, well, what I did, I took a map of colonial Williamsburg, and then also for New York City, which was private, New Amsterdam.
Yeah.
So going way, way back, for whatever reason, someone came up, and it could be engineers or whatever, and it was just figuring out, okay, and I think sometimes it's just a matter of if you're a newcomer, if you don't speak the language, but if someone tells you a snippet of information, okay, you're heading north or whatever, and if you're on Avenue, okay, and the numbers are increasing, oh, you're going north. So I could research that, but I know at least the oldest cities, they have that pattern. So I just brought two from colonial Williamsburg.
So avenue is east-west.
North-south is what he's saying.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Avenues is north-south.
Correct. So I think it's
But Montgomery Road.
Maybe
So-
a diagonal.
But then even here, like Hudson Avenue is east-west.
Yeah, Williams Avenue,
Yeah.
Spencer Avenue, Region Avenue, they're all Cluny.
I think it's just probably like whether it's humans or the engineers, they wanted some standardization, so they put that sort of taxonomy, or we were talking earlier about signs. So to me, it's just that there's always a system for something. So
I don't know why this stuck out to me so much, but I am always going to remember that Massachusetts has 13 letters in it because of that. And I don't know why, but I just think it's so interesting, and I had a good time reading it, so.
Well, yeah, and there's certain things like you probably caught like tongue in cheek, but to me, there's a big concern from emergency services when you have something that sounds similar, and especially in Cincinnati, you have a lot of these smaller neighborhoods, and sometimes by not having it, say out west where they have a county taking over everything, like Park, you might get confused, and God forbid you're wasting 10 minutes, 15 minutes trying to respond or some sort of a call. But to me, that's the logic. I know in certain cities they even have it alphabetically. So if you live in A, B, C, sometimes related to street trees or whatever, they'll find enough to do that. So you're roughly going to that particular neighborhood because okay, it's fine, it's this name, so it belongs in that block. So
Very interesting.
Would folks be comfortable voting this out of committee to present to the next council meeting? Or do you want more time? Any questions you would want answered?
No, I mean, when this first came to our packets a month ago, I thought it seemed like the sort of like the thorough nuts and bolts of city workings that I don't think about day to day, and there was nothing on my read of it then that thought anything other than, oh, that's interesting. There was nothing that stood out as awry or missing or anything like that. And I think to Mr. Skelly's point on the sort of the designation of people to govern this or fill in any ambiguity, I'm fine with, that being an administrative duty here and the people that that's entrusted to. So I don't really even know if I understand or why it needed to come here before being voted on, but.
Nor do I. I think it was a policy issue because it had to go to from planning commission. I think it was just part of the requirement, sort of my understanding of it.
Yep.
So I would say let's go ahead and vote. The only thing I would request, and I saw you take a note, is the removal of the gendered language. With that, I guess let's take a vote to move this out of committee back into to council.
All right, I vote yes.
I vote yes.
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 Ruby. All voted yes. All right. The next thing we were going to talk about was the housing data. I sent everyone a copy of not only the link to the OPI, but also my slides from the last meeting. If anyone had any comments or questions or discussion, and what do we want to do with that information? It started to percolate for me the things that I think are higher priorities, but wanted to check with folks. Where are you seeing the biggest need for movement? I'm happy
You can
to
go
share
ahead.
my.
Yeah.
Okay. For me, the biggest challenge.
I just
was-
remembered what I was going to say.
Oh,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Too late.
Nope.
Too late. For me, there's the two big pieces are around trying to encourage home ownership, in particular, home ownership for Norwood residents. I'd like more owner occupied housing. And also to increase the sort of the education around rentals for our rental folks. I know that Alexis Royce, when she was on council, presented information on landlord rights and tenant rights, and I think that might be a really helpful thing for us to revisit. We're talking about having a more robust web page, and I think that information would do well there. Things like what do I do if my apartment has no heat? Well, here's the phone number for the building department. That's, these are the places that you would contact and have some real clarity around that for folks. So those are sort of my two big ones. And I'm starting to gather resources specifically for home ownership support that I would like to have presented to the community. But that's sort of where I'm starting. What was your thought?
My thought was, in addition to like homeownership and renters' rights, making sure that is something that people are aware of, trying to more actively discourage extended vacancies. But the one thing many things stuck out to me, but one that especially stuck out is that our rate of vacancy is so high. And some of that is due to, short-term vacancy is not a big deal. You have to redo a house, a tenant moves in, it takes a couple months to take a new one. But there are houses, and I'm sure all of you know of houses in your area that have been sitting vacant for years or decade or more. For businesses, that can be due to challenges finding tenants. But for houses, it seems like better, this is something that Mr. Girton has talked about a lot, just enforcing the codes that we already have on the books. And I know with the building department, their issue is just they don't have the manpower to do that and also do all the permitting that they need to do. But I feel like it's just something that both me and Mr. Girton and other people in the community keep coming back to, is like, how do we get these houses to actually be used as a house and not just sit there for a decade plus?
The housing vacancy, and I have asked, we do not have, what's interesting is from the OKI data, they show about an 11% vacancy rate, which I know I shared that I was surprised by, the safety service director was surprised by, as well as OKI was surprised by, because that's 11% is sort of that tipping point when you start to be aware that that's problematic. Now, the good thing is that our vacancy has decreased.
Yes.
Right, that's the correct direction. So from, let's see, where is it? We were at, it's not on this slide. Oh, looks like it was 18%. Is that correct? It was 18% and now it's 11%. That might not be correct. It's not on the slide I'm looking for. So it's going in the right direction, but it's not where we would like it to be. And then comparing it to our neighbors, North College Hill, they are at 11.1, Newport 11.4, St. Bernard 13.3, Evanston 17, Hyde Park 8.2. So we're kind of in that category, so we're not really an outlier, but again, higher than we would like. We do have a vacant property policy on the books, but it is not enforced because of staffing issues. I've talked with the building department a few times, and we could always ask them to come and brainstorm with us. But I've heard from them, it would require multiple staff members to take on something like this.
Right.
One thought is we could look at potentially seeing like Xavier students, if they wanted to do like a semester-long look at and try to dig and find where those properties are. What other things would you guys think would be ways that we could move forward?
So basically like have someone make a list of all the properties that are vacant. But the issue for me would be like we make that list, but if it doesn't get acted on, then how, that still doesn't change anything, unfortunately. So I don't know.
And one would be, if it's a property that's vacant, is it also meeting one of those problematic categories?
Yeah.
Does it have tall grass? Does it have broken windows? Is it a nuisance in some way? Or is it merely vacant? Because I do know that there are properties where, one I know is the homeowner has been in extended care.
Right.
And is not expected to come back, but the house remains. And the family mows it and takes care of it and takes in the mail. So unless you live next door, you probably wouldn't know it was vacant. And then there's plenty of other properties where it looks vacant. So one option is that we be more assertive in the ones that don't look good.
I think that would be a good start. Just, I don't want to penalize people because they moved and they don't want to deal with selling the house for a year or two. But there's certainly plenty of houses that are overgrown, that are not properly, like you're supposed to, if you leave a house vacant, you're supposed to do a bunch of things like shutting the water off, making sure that it's airtight, sealing the windows and doors. And I know the two houses I'm thinking of don't have some of that. So I don't know if that would be like involving the health department more with the nuisance stuff, but.
Well, it's also sort of a combination of Board of Health and Building Department.
Right.
Tall grass, garbage, that's the Board of Health. And Building Department would be broken stairs, front stairs. I know some communities, and I've spoken with Chief McCabe, they're required to have a fire notice. It's almost like on the door. So in case there's a fire and the fire department comes, that they know that there are no residents in there. That's more work, that's more paperwork, that's more yada yada. But some communities go to that length where it's a whole process.
Do you, with regard to that 11%, do you have a raw number?
No, sir.
Do we have I have two numbers in my head. I don't know which one is right in terms of total housing structures in the.
It might be on that OKI site. I can see if I can pull it up. And we can reach out to, because I sent a couple messages to OKI, their data person, who gave some further clarity to it. Do you want me to pull that up for you now, or is that a question for later? Because I can do it, but it's going to take me a sec.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, I guess I'm just trying to think about kind of just the practical terms of what that means. So if we just say round numbers, there's about 10,000, maybe a little less. Mr. Skelly, do you know, is it more like 9,000 or 10,000 housing units in the city? 7,500. Okay. So 11% on that is, say,
I've got it. Housing units in 2023, 9,892.
units. Yeah, I think, and that ends up being a little different than like the structures number. But so that's the 11%.
And in 2014, it was 15%. And that is, the source is ACS 2019 to 2023 5-year estimates table.
Yeah.
So I don't know that that's
It's the American Community Survey part of the census.
right.
So.
But it's not an exact head count like the census is my recollection, right?
Yeah, it's
the
sort
supplemental.
of a rolling kind of estimate.
So if it were an exact 1-to-1 thing, it would be approximately 989 to 1,000 houses that are vacant,
Right.
which seems high.
So yeah, at any given time. So let's
At
say
any given time,
250 per ward.
Yeah. And so since that doesn't distinguish between long-term and short-term,
Right.
it'd be great if somehow you could make it so if it hasn't been vacant for more than 5 years, less than 5 years, but I'm sure that would be much harder to quantify.
Just to go back for a second, Susan, Ms. Hoover, I'm sorry. You mentioned kind of the building department in, potentially bringing them in, just trying to understand better. I think one of the things that would be interesting to hear is just to kind of understand the worldview around having existing things that are unenforced. I know it came up. I mean, I'm the one that brought it up when we were going through the budget cycle of, should there be another FTE in the building department? The answer that I got to that was no, but then concurrently. So it's a little bit, I guess I'd just like to understand that thinking a little bit more about, we don't have enough manpower, but we also sort of don't want another FTE to have more manpower to do. Just seems kind of contradictory to me. And maybe I'm missing something. Like I don't operate in building department land, for most of my life. So I might, maybe there's a very good reason that would be the case.
I'm curious, was it, of all the FTEs the city could use, that was not where we would want to put it? Or was it the building department felt like they didn't need an extra staff person?
I would think it was, I don't want
The
to, I want to say that it was Mr. Powers, Safety Service Director, kind of speaking on that notion on behalf of Mr. Wolf.
Okay.
Could we maybe invite someone from the building department to our next meeting to,
Absolutely.
I'm not sure if that's what you were getting at, Mr. Warren.
Yeah.
I just wanted to, make sure I was on the same page.
And then another question just in that, and maybe we're spilling over a little bit into priorities of the committee. Is there, do we know if it's a statutory matter that sort of two different entities are responsible for different angles of property upkeep? Meaning did Norwood just decide that one was going to be about the physical structure and the other was going to be about, let's say, care of the lawn and assorted things of that nature? Surely there are other communities where it is one department's job for anything to do with your property or the built structure on it. No? Is that? Oh, I'm sorry. Just briefly, I thought you were shaking your head. No, that was not right.
I know that it's been this way because in Norwood since the 19 teens.
Sure.
In my research with the Marsh Park. I'm thinking with the city of Cincinnati, I feel like it's still separated between what's a building department and what's a health department. And I know it's further complicated in Norwood's case is the Board of Health is not a department of the city. It's its own entity. So the health department, the Board of Health Department staff aren't employed by the city. So even Mr. Zimmerman, who's the health inspector, is not, is that correct? He's not an employee of the city. Is that? He's under the Board of Health. Okay. It's a weird relationship.
And maybe we just put that toothpaste back in the tube and, invite Mr. Wolf to a future meeting. Because, it's more of a just general curiosity of sort of why they're the way they are, but it sounds like
maybe what we could do would be to invite both the building department and the Board of Health, specifically the inspector, to come and talk about what they do and how they do it, and maybe what they see the challenges and some paths forward that might be helpful for them.
That would be cool.
Sound good?
Yes, that sounds great.
Okay, I can do that. And then I will share with the committee the homeowner support stuff when I finish it, and just give folks a chance to look over it. It's predominantly, these are programs and services, the Revive and Thrive, the PWC, people working cooperatively. I'm trying to get them to do some properties in Norwood. Do people know what people working cooperatively is?
Would you?
Yeah, sorry.
please?
People Working Cooperatively is a local nonprofit, and they do two major events a year. One is a repair fair in the fall and prepare a fair. I might have them backwards. Prepare a fair in the fall and repair a fair in the spring. Maybe that's it. And so they target low-income folks, and volunteers come in and assist with property challenges that would be, I can look at my notes. That's the Revive and Thrive. Things that are emergency home repairs, broken water pipes, lack of heat, things like that, as well as accessibility modifications. Yeah, they also have critical home repairs for major defects threatening the safety. And then the other one is the more critical, not cosmetic, but like more emergency that threatens the client's well-being. And then Habitat for Humanity has a veterans repair program. They also have an aging in place program, which I think is really important, in particular for, I think, our Norwoodians who have these giant homes or they're living in, as well as the some like how to buy a house classes. Those can give you discounts when you do go to purchase a home, in terms of points off your mortgage and things like that. One of the things I noticed in the data was the mortgage applications have gone down. So that might be a thing we kind of want to try to encourage. And there's a local bank that actually, they're not in Norwood, but it's a local bank that specifically works to help people get into their first home.
Yeah.
So that's another.
And yeah, just like with anything, just making sure that people have the information they need to make it easier. Home buying is stressful enough. Any resources that can help people, especially lower income, to achieve that dream would be great. I'm trying to think. The other thing that has been a topic more statewide and nationally is something I think that we as a local municipality can't really do much about, which is people have concerns about private equity buying homes and converting them into rentals. I don't know if there's anything we can do. I'm happy to be told
Proven
I'm wrong, but from what I have read, because I read a lot about this like last year, it seems like this is something that would have to be action taken at the state or higher level. Any attempt that we would, if like we got a wild hair, like, we're not going to let anyone that's not an individual buy it, we would face pretty significant lawsuits pretty quickly.
Imagine.
But it is something that's been on my mind too. It's just, I wanted to put that out there as something that probably other people have heard about or have had concerns about in the past.
It seems like one of the things municipalities do to try to encourage homeownership is doing things like down payment assistance programs.
Yes.
Which, of course, right now, that's not a thing that we're creating, but those are things that we could talk about. Where, you've been a Norwood resident for X amount of time, and you're going to owner occupied for X amount of time. Here is some dollar amount to go towards your home. That's another thing that some communities do. I don't think that that's on our radar for right now, but know that that's a thing. The other thing that other cities would do is if they have property, they could donate it to, say, Habitat for Humanity, and then have that rehabbed into a home. We don't, that's also not really on our, in our purview right now.
Yeah, as a smaller city, some of the things that larger cities are able to do are out of our reach just because of the fact of our budget being what it is.
But we're making more money. So who knows
Yes.
what the next year may give us. In terms of the streets, so this is more under the committee priorities. We still have not gotten the street survey back from
Okay.
from the engineering. Mr. Powers is going to pass that along when we get it, when they get it. There are other ways that we can do streets. Mr. Skelly and I were talking about one earlier, and maybe it's just a matter of having a conversation, even if it's not a way we would do it, which is where a city would decide that this street is a priority for us, and we pay for it out of our own checkbook, and then that is assessed on the street owner, the property owners on that street. Apparently, this is done in Springdale. You had another, a different method that you had heard about.
Well, I think having the assessment is probably more reasonable. Because, you know, you can target specific neighborhoods, but like I said, it's something that definitely would be more discussion, administration, and staff to look up to. What's the best way to tackle it?
Because since I've been around, the only way we've done streets is by doing the grant loan combo, because that's the only way we were able to afford to do them. Now that we're bringing in more income and we're having a conversation about the cannabis funds, there might be a little bit more wiggle room, and maybe we just want to have a conversation about, because I had never even thought about that as a way that some communities do streets, because we just haven't done it that way. But in particular, like, I'm waiting for the
Sirens,
to go.
yeah.
Can you share the story about like the cul-de-sac or the dead-end street?
Yeah, I think that would be much to kind of get into right now, but to me, having it property assessed and then going back into fixing that neighborhood is probably the best way to go. I was just using, I was just using the cul-de-sac as an example where you may have a smaller neighborhood that's on a cul-de-sac, which in terms of the function of the street, it doesn't serve much. It's not a local road connecting to another one, or it's not a collector road that other roads feed into it. So to me, it's probably kind of a discussion that goes a couple steps above my, feeding pay grade in terms of figuring it out. But again, there's probably other options up there that we could explore and have discussions with the engineer. And again, figure out what other municipalities in the state are doing.
The other thing I can share is I did take a look. OKI has a pilot paving project that they also, they started last year, and they've paved millions of dollars worth of streets. And that is still open. It's a lot more competitive, and they're primarily targeting streets that are collectors or it's right here. So streets are like labeled by how much traffic they get and sort of where are they, what are they connected to. And with this tool, we only have a handful of streets that really meet that criteria, which would be Williams, Robertson, Park, Hopkins. The other ones have already been done.
That fall in like sort of the minimum daily traffic bands eligible for the grant.
It's, I can't remember the name of it. So each road segment has a different sort of criteria, and it has to do with their functional class, their safety, and their AADT. So there's lots of math that happens behind the screen that I can't even see.
Yeah.
That's also on the OKI website, so you can
Like
play around with it.
Are you talking about like the traffic counts map that they have?
No, this is the project application assistant
okay.
for the pilot paving project.
Okay, because there is a like OKI traffic counts interactive map where you can like zoom in on specific streets and see and not every street in Norwood has a counter on it or has been counted.
Yeah.
But to your point, I know like Williams, Forest, like certainly some streets other than Montgomery and Smith have markations on them.
So those are funds that I'm talking to Mr. Powers about absolutely applying for. Again, it's going to be more competitive, and this would be funding for 2028 cycle. And I didn't think that I thought Williams was looking pretty good, but the portion closer to Shell,
Yeah, that's looking bad. That has the most traffic too. Between Smith and Floral is the worst.
Yeah, probably especially like South Madison.
Yeah, that
Where
area.
South Madison comes
You know
in
where
the
that
triangle and goes.
there's that area where it like dips down a lot. That has been an issue in the past. It was repaired, but it's doing it again.
Hannaford is a little tough too, and that's a pretty well-traveled street with the school right there too. So it's interesting.
yeah, but Hannaford is not a
Like,
collector.
oh, okay. Oh,
Whereas maybe like Fenwick might be, or
Not Fenwick.
do you say there are any in Ward 4 that meet the daily threshold other than Carthage?
I do not believe so.
I think it's only Carthage. I don't think section wouldn't count.
Oops. I think it's just the ones that I mentioned.
Yeah.
Hopkins,
Yep.
Williams, and Forest maybe. Robertson, Park. Park kind of surprised me. I can find the list again. You have to go in and scroll over to find them. So it's not like there's a list. But I'm happy to shoot that to the committee so you guys can have that information. I don't know that we really can do a whole lot more with streets until we get the full survey back, but I did ask Clint Zimmerman, who's the now budget director and previous superintendent of public works, to come and talk about the process on how they've historically done the streets in terms of the selection process, and if that's going to be the same process moving forward. Which again, we kind of briefly talked about. When the OWP puts out, we're going to have money available, they would take a few streets, one from each ward, that would look like they would best fit the criteria, and those are the ones they would submit to the state, and then the state would say, this is the one we think is the best fit.
And I think just in that spirit, I think having Mr. Zimmerman or his successor,
Strange.
I think just help, come provide a little bit of an education in a more nitty gritty way about streets. And what I'll call upon here is looking at, I have said this phrase, and I know others in here have said it too, which is this idea that the streets are about $1 million per lane mile. But if you look at, for example, South Jefferson and the 0.3 miles that is at 2 million plus total costs, that calculation ends up being 7 million a lane mile. And so it's whoa, why does that cost that much? And then you hear, well, it's not just the resurfacing, it's the underground piece and the utilities and the water line and the sewer reconstruction, the curbs, all these kinds of things. So having them come in and just talk a little bit more in depth about kind of the different components of a street project and the what are the quick tickets to a big cost item, that'll really run up your price tag. That would be interesting to have that and be able to better communicate that to the public.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think the price of the streets ratchets up very quickly because we often try to do the water lines at the same time or pair it with the lead grant, and we try to do lead abatement, those sort of lines. And then, of course, it's the concrete sidewalks, which is, I think, the most
It
expensive
is. The
piece.
curbs and the sidewalks, since they're formed concrete, they take
Concrete's more expensive.
so much more expensive.
Yeah. So just, I think I would even say above like building department, I think inviting in Mr. Strange and Mr. Zimmerman to talk through that would be pretty interesting and helpful.
So Mr. Zimmerman has confirmed he'll be here for the next meeting. So be prepared for all your questions, and he'll go. There's not a question I don't think he can answer. There's not a question he can't answer. That's correct. When it comes to streets, he knows every pothole, every bump in every road in all of Norwood.
And is that, I think we're doing it here tonight, right? Which is streets housing is on the third Tuesday. And so I'm trusting when you say that he's confirmed that, that means he'll be here on April 21st.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, we did it different this month. I feel like a lot of the committees are a little off as we're starting. And I'm not going to be here next Tuesday, so apologies. That's why we're doing it now.
That is okay. Yep. Things are tricky at the beginning when we're trying to figure out schedules and like getting sick.
I'm not planning to get sick.
Yeah, I wasn't either.
Any other sort of priorities, committee priorities? We don't have anyone in the audience with community comments. And I'm pausing. I'm wondering, the health in this, I think, would be lovely to do the sustainability information. That doesn't really have a home anywhere right now. And I know that that's something I'm spending a lot of time, and lots of really exciting stuff's happening. Does that feel like it would be appropriate in this committee? And maybe that's a question we need to have with the council at large. But I would be interested in having that its home be here.
That's right.
Yeah, double thumbs up.
Okay. You're thinking.
Go either way, yeah.
Okay.
So I could also, the other one that would come to mind would be like parks,
I was thinking that too. And like public spaces. Either way.
Yeah. I could take it either way.
I'll confirm with Mr. Gears that that's making sure how we do that process. If we can request it in here, or if we have to request it out there to come into here.
Yes.
But with that information, I'll just share a brief update on the sustainability stuff. With the Board of Health, we did 2 sustainability summits. You got to come to one. They were really, really cool. Over 40 residents came. We had Hamilton County Resource did a presentation on low waste living. Queen City Commons came to talk about our upcoming composting program, which is going to start April the 1st at Lower Millcrest. We had Last Mile Food Rescue, that is an organization here in Norwood that diverts millions of pounds of food from the landfill and gets it to the food insecure, which is phenomenal. Our tree board came and spoke. We had Paul Boyes from the Emily's Garden, the community garden at Hunter Park came. I feel like, was there somebody else? Maybe not. And people got their big compost bucket. We're starting the mini hub, I believe is officially open now.
Yes.
Good.
So
I thought I started composting too early. I don't know if I'm going to drop off something. I don't know.
well, the compost starts April the 1st. The mini hub is the recycling for the hard to recycle items. So that's a partnership with the Cincinnati Recycling and Reuse Hub. And so the Norwood Board of Health is having their own mini hub where we will be accepting, I've been working on the graphic, the store plastic flexible film. That's the grocery bags, your bread bags, Ziploc bags, dry cleaning bags, all that, the things that you put your tomatoes in to carry them from the grocery to home. All that they accept. The rigid plastics, your clear food containers, your berry tubs, your yogurt cups, margarine, takeout containers, medicine bottles. If you have prescriptions that need to be dumped, you can take those to the police department. They have one of those big bins, as well as Walgreens has one. But then you can take your empty bottles to the hub. They're also taking styrofoam, clean white styrofoam, so your takeout containers, as well as egg cartons, packaging foam. Anytime you get anything from Amazon and it's that little piece of styrofoam that's in there, they'll take that. Everything just needs to be clean and dry. They don't accept hazardous materials or batteries. But that's going to be really, really phenomenal. You had a question?
I have a question. So I had a newsletter reader who was looking for the stream of the summit. Is it?
It's going to be available on the 16th. Oh, today's the 17th.
Oh, okay.
So
I will
any
go home and
moment
check.
now.
Yes.
I know that they were trying to get the slides because they do a very professional job, our Norwood Television. So they were actually inputting the slides from the presenters, and there was an issue with one of the slides weren't the correct ones. So they're getting updated slides, and that should be any minute now.
Awesome.
And then we're also going to be putting out some information both on the Board of Health's website, and I'm going to ask the city to share it as well, about what all they're doing. They also have the electronics recycling in the back, which is open 24/7. And in January, we had February was over 500 pounds of electronic waste.
Jeez,
So
That's a lot.
people are really using this. It's really exciting.
that's awesome. I'm so glad it's here. Was annoying a couple of years ago when I was looking for somewhere to throw away my electronics
Yeah.
like a good girl.
Yeah.
And there was nothing. So now I have somewhere.
I drove my old holiday lights out to Sharon Woods.
Oh, I drove my whole holiday lights out to Woodland Mound.
Yeah. And now you can just drive behind the Board of Health. I mean, it's one of the cool things that even the presenters were saying was we're giving a lot of really great resources to Norwood. So I'm just really excited about that. Because like the Queen City Commons, the composting, it's happening all over Cincinnati. You're going to see those little green compost bins, and they have sort of a little shed, not a shed, but it's sort of a little container around it. And they're all over Clifton. I saw some in Hyde Park, North Side. And for those communities, neighbors are getting them for 3 months for free. But in Norwood, it will be free for a year. So we're really wanting people to take advantage and really show how much we want these services. So I'm really proud of the work that we're doing for that. And we're also working on a diversion weekend. April 25 and 26 is the 25th is Arbor Day. And so that weekend, we're going to be doing a huge diversion that's when Public Works will be accepting the tires. We're also looking at getting a big paper shredding. We'll be doing latex paint. We're going to be trying to do furniture, Friends of the Library, going through my list. Not batteries, not Freon. Freon got really expensive this year. But more information to follow, but it will be, and we're planning on doing it in the municipal lot of next to the school and across the street from the Board of Health. And the tree board is going to be doing, I think they're going to also do an event there, giving out trees. So it's going to be a very fun, earthy, take care of our Earth weekend. Any other thoughts? Any other sustainability things we need to talk about? What do you want to recycle?
Nothing sustainability. I have a different
I'm ready.
housing related thing.
Absolutely.
I don't know the extent to which this exists right now, but I think in terms of housing, especially over the last year, I've heard kind of this reference to like different types of housing products and sort of like a mix of different types of housing products in a community. I am not aware of any like inventory that we have like that would say of those round number 10,000 housing units, this many hundred are let's say big box apartment complexes versus this many hundred are condos versus these are single family homes that are 50 to 100 years old, just what that kind of mix is. And it just makes me wonder, like if we had like an investment portfolio, kind of our percentages of allocation to different housing types, like are there any categories or what categories is Norwood lacking, and how do we think about like housing policy that promotes certain types and developments going forward?
I have some data from Valerie Daly with LISC. And LISC, I'm trying to think about what LISC stands for. Because
Low income. Never mind. Damn.
I know it's not low.
Local initiatives support community
Good job.
corporations.
I'm on their website and it doesn't even say. So, wait, say it again.
Local initiatives support corporation.
So they are, I don't know, what would you call them? A nonprofit that supports housing initiatives and housing information. I talked with them quite a bit when I was newly on council, when they did the housing survey, which is on the city's website. I don't know. I know I emailed it to you. Have you seen that, John? It's from, is it from 2020? So outdated. But I got some updated information from Valerie, and I can shoot this over to you. It's rental units by size. So like 0 to 1 bedroom, we have 2,506. 0 to 1 bedroom, which
So
is
that would be like
54%.
studios and
Efficiencies. And then 2 bedroom is 26%. 3 or more is 18%. And then you can compare it to Hamilton County and the state. And then I also have some data on the gross rent, as well as income. I'm happy to shoot that over. It's from this last August. And then I also got a home mortgage report for Norwood, which is a list of the loans, the loan amounts. What else? Oh, refinancing. So it doesn't, that has the numbers of the size of the units, but not what's a apartment building, what is a 4-family, what's a 2-family.
Right, has the unit mix,
Yeah,
or is it it's the bedroom?
it's the bedroom.
Bedroom counts. But yeah, so I guess my question would be like,
They might have that info.
you get what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah. Of that, how many is,
like are all, I can't think of the address over on Edwards Road. Like there's a big development there, a lot of apartments in it. It's like, that is one style of apartment versus, or one style of apartment experience, if you will, versus somebody who rents out the other side of their duplex. is a totally different kind of thing.
I'm shooting this over to all of you
Thank you.
right now. But it sounds like a question we would have, and I'm happy to email Valerie. Do we have the type of unit?
Or the like the setting, I think, is maybe even more so.
And you're wanting to know, I keep wanting to say big box
I keep
apartment,
thinking that.
but
Yeah, I don't know the right term. Mr. Skelly, I don't know if you the giant, 50 plus 100 plus unit kind of apartment complexes, if there's a term for this.
Correct, yeah. So the US Census does break it down in terms of gradation, whether it's a, duplex, I think they might call it two-family, whatever. And that was definitely in the housing action plan that LISC prepared for us, 2020, 21. There might be updates to that as part of the AC, the typical update every 5 years. I could check into it and provide it to you guys if I find it, but OKI does decent tracking, so they may already have that. But I think there's at least half a dozen different categories in terms of single family, duplexes, triplexes, and then for apartments, and this kind of meshes with what the county auditor has, might be whatever, 4 to 19, 19 to 50 in terms of larger apartment buildings. So
Yeah. If you have anything like that, that would be good. Just to
I
understand.
can look tomorrow and then.
Yeah.
and then I can ask Andy with OKI or Valerie with LISC to see if they have anything. What would you, if we were to have this information, this many that, are you looking, is it just, I'd like that information so we can kind of take a look at it? Or is it, I'm curious if, we don't have any townhomes, and that's the thing. Well, now we're going to have townhomes, but we don't have, or we have a small amount of this.
Yeah.
Like, what are you thinking you might want to do with the data?
Yeah, I think it boils down to having like that basic understanding of like what's our mix, and then like I heard a number of people say around Robertson South kind of this idea of like, oh well, townhomes aren't a product that Norwood has, right? And it makes me wonder like, what are the other kinds of housing you know what I mean? Like, how should we think about that? Like, I know with was it the Flats, Carpenter Flats, and then like the Maple and Montgomery, that those will be more senior housing, and so I guess it's just kind of like across a lifetime and across let's say socioeconomic means. What does that kind of grid of housing inventory look like for folks who are either looking to go, from apartment to a starter home, or from somewhere they lived for 40 years to downsizing, like what are the options and
Movements.
yeah.
And sort of, I was almost picturing like arrows.
Yeah.
Yeah, where do you go to downsize? Where do you go to upsize? Where do you go? Norwood should have it all.
all those different types of housing. And so I don't know what the right mix is, but I think understanding our current mix is at least a starting place for advancing anything that is in that realm.
That sounds cool. Yeah.
May I add just sort of two other
Absolutely.
things for like future purview while we're talking about it. I think sort of a cousin of streets might be parking, and so I think just anything. I guess I'll just ask anything sort of like parking adjacent, right? Remain on our radar. And then in the health realm, I wonder about like public trash receptacles as being something understanding, so, right outside City Hall, you can see 4 from the front steps. Well, how, obviously the parks have them, and there's one at the Williams Ave Community Garden. Just how do we think about, kind of the spacing, the liability, the relationship with Rumpke as it pertains to public receptacles?
That's a great question. I kind of want to share. So I'm wondering if I'm happy to have it here, but I'm also wondering if it should be in parks. I'm pointing to you.
Yes.
Because we didn't used to have recycling in the parks, and so when I got on council, we were able to negotiate that we could have a trash can near the curb. Excuse me, a recycling bin near the curb, but it couldn't be in the park because our Rumpke contract, they would just pick it up from the curb.
Right.
And so we couldn't have it in the contract that they would go into the park and retrieve it. And that was certainly a funding issue at the time. I don't think that that's a great long-term plan, because one of the things we know about recycling is you really need to have garbage can and recycling can right next to each other. And that's certainly not a thing that we always, we're not consistent on in the city. Because if there's a garbage can here and a recycling can there, people are just going to throw everything in the garbage. Like that's just a fact, which is heartbreaking. But so that might be something to revisit. Is this the way we want to keep doing it? Is there a better option? I don't remember when we're renewing our Rumpke contract. It's every 2 years?
I want to say that it is it's next summer or sooner is kind of the window, because I spoke with Noah briefly about it. So it's like reasonably proximate, but not like next month.
But not imminent.
Yeah.
And I don't, my office is on Lookout Square in Mount Lookout, and they have the really nice, the metal black sort of curvy garbage cans. And they also have the nice curvy metal blue recycling. And they've got new, really nice signage that says, this is what you can recycle. And I think that pairing is really important. That you can't just have a bin. You have to have the bin next to the garbage. You have to have it well signaged. There's sort of these things you need to hit. And if you don't hit all of them, then that's when you run into problems. Looking down the road, I would love, maybe as we're looking at Montgomery Road corridor, we could have garbage and recycling side by side. I have no idea how much that costs. Probably a lot. Is there something you would like us to immediately do with public trash cans?
I don't think there's anything immediate, but I just think that topic of like, how do we get potentially more public receptacles? Just that.
Maybe we could just even leave it on the agenda. I'm even trying to think of what some initial questions would be, like, do we know where they all are?
Right. Just even that basic
Count.
Right.
Yeah, and then maybe getting rid of some that are redundant, that are like on one corner and then also on another corner. I don't know how you would measure that redundancy, though, I guess. Something to think about.
Yeah, we'll think about that. All right. Oh, we went over an hour. My apologies.
Not too
Okay. Anything else anyone can think of?
Can I just add a little cousin
Absolutely.
term here? Like, would sidewalks be an applicable? I know that they're technically the property owner, but I just, again, if we're talking about, say, pavement, of like streets, parking, sidewalks, all kind of related.
So parking, I wrote parking under streets. That doesn't make sense. Parking in the streets committee, public trash cans and sidewalks.
I'm just thinking sort of like adjacent things relative to the kind of these, you know, core infrastructure things of streets and housing. You know, I think like sidewalks would be another one, and parking would be long-term kinds of infrastructure.
Would, you know, the sidewalks are the homeowner's responsibility. Is one of the, would it be having a list of contractors online that are licensed in the city of Norwood? Would it be trying to, like some communities will try to get a whole street together to, you know, because each little sidewalk block, I just had 7 done and I can't remember how much they were. But sometimes a whole street will have a whole lot, and so the neighbors will come together to get a discounted deal.
Coordinating can significantly reduce the cost, and so much of it is just getting the equipment there.
I did talk to Mr. Powers about that a while ago, in terms of having that be a city facilitated thing. And the challenge is, well, then who holds the money and who holds the liability? And it kind of unraveled, but I think that's an interesting idea that, you know, if the residents could take it on. Is there something else you could think of for sidewalks, or are you thinking more like city-owned sidewalks?
I would just like to keep sidewalks on our radar.
Okay, we can do that. I like sidewalks. That's strange. Anything else? Adjacent or not? Mr. Skelly, any words of wisdom? Not this one. All right.
He has no wisdom to show.
So just refreshing, we are meeting again April 21st at 6 o'clock. So on that agenda, we'll be having Mr. Zimmerman from the budget director is going to come to talk about streets. Do we want to have the building department and health department? We could invite them that night, or perhaps the following one.
May.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I will
That'd
invite
be good
them
to
to
have
the
more
May
time.
meeting.
And I think just as a matter of clarity, I don't want this to be like a duplicate special presentation, you know, of what those department heads share when they come. You know, this is more like
In the weeds
in the
of
weeds, nitty gritty specificity.
roll up your sleeves. We want to talk about these streets,
That
not
kind of
streets
thing.
up here.
Right.
That works for me.
That works for me.
Awesome. All right. The time is 7:15 and we will adjourn. Thank you guys so much for your time tonight.